Welcome to Compelling Topics, the only channel dedicated to the perspective of leading researchers from the Italian independent scene. Let's turn your minds on. To inaugurate this new series dedicated to Tolkien on compelling topics, within the Literary Cafe playlist, it is an honor to feature the voice of one of Italy's most profound experts on Tolkien's work, Paolo Nardi. Born in Venice in 1980, Paolo Nardi is a scholar of English literature, with a degree in letters from Foscari University of Venice and a master's in publishing completed in Rome. His professional career sits at the crossroads of publishing, literary criticism, and cultural dissemination, with particular attention to the classics of fantasy literature and, above all, the works of the creator of Middle-earth. He contributes to editorial projects as editor-in-chief, writes reviews and critical essays, and passionately manages the website La Spelunca del Libro. Yet his reputation has grown primarily through his work as a commentator and scholar of Tolkien's oeuvre. He is a member of the board of directors of the Italian Association for Tolkien Studies, AISD, and his dedicated Tolkien YouTube channel has brought the works of Arda closer to a growing audience, both Italian and international. Nardi has published several in-depth essays on the Legendarium. From the comprehensive narrative commentaries Let's Read The Hobbit Together and Let's Read The Lord of the Rings Together, to the more extensive volume exploring Middle-earth, myth, language, and power in the works of Tolkien, in which he weaves philological, historical, and interpretative analyses of both major and minor works. Recently, he published for Eteria Edizioni Curse and Pride, the story of Turin Turambar in The Children of Hurin by Tolkien, a critical and narrative contribution on the most tragic and profound cycle of Tolkien's early myth-making. In this first episode, drawing on Paolo Nardi's deep knowledge and interpretative guidance, we will explore one of the most mysterious and beloved characters of the entire Legendarium, Tom Bombadil, a unique figure in The Lord of the Rings, often at the center of debates regarding his meaning, narrative role, and origin in Tolkien's cosmos. It only took the announcement that Tom Bombadil will appear in the second season of The Rings of Power, along with the release of the first images of actor Rory Kinnear in the role, to set the internet alight. Once again, the debate has reignited around this enigmatic figure, who cyclically resurfaces whenever Tolkien's work is discussed. At presentations, conferences, and public events, there is always the inevitable question, who is Tom Bombadil really? Many have tried to answer, attempting to explain the existence of this seemingly marginal, neutral character, positioned outside the central narrative. Let us not forget that Peter Jackson excluded him from his cinematic Lord of the Rings trilogy, deeming him extremely difficult to portray on screen. Paradoxically, however, Tom may be the most clearly described character in Tolkien's work. The author, usually reluctant to provide physical details, is unusually precise here. Bombadil is perpetually cheerful, sings strange rhymes, has a ruddy, smiling face, a long beard, a blue coat, and yellow boots. Yet he remains elusive. Even the hobbits cannot tell whether to call him a man, and his height seems to fall somewhere between that of a man and that of a hobbit. This has led to a proliferation of interpretations. Some have identified him with Eru Iluvatar, the creator of Tolkien's universe, others with a Maya. Some even see Tolkien himself in him. Then, of course, there are personal opinions. I think he is this, I think he is that. But we must tread carefully. We have no definitive evidence about Tom Bombadil's identity. We can only rely on the texts. Beyond that, any conjecture remains personal and is not explicitly confirmed in Tolkien's writings. Yet Tolkien did write something. Not everyone knows that in the primary world, the real world in which Tolkien lived, Tom Bombadil originally started as a Dutch doll belonging to one of his children, Michael. From the 1920s, Tom became the protagonist of stories told to his children, and later of the poem The Adventures of Tom Bombadil, published in 1934. In the 1930s, Tolkien wrote to his publisher Stanley Unwin proposing to make Bombadil the protagonist of a sequel to The Hobbit, but the project never materialized. In the famous Letter 144, Tolkien states somewhat ambiguously that Tom is not a major figure in the plot, yet he still serves a function. He acts like a commentary, something meaningful to the author without being openly explained. In another letter, number 19, Tolkien suggests that Bombadil represents the spirit of the countryside around Oxford in Berkshire, a clue that roots him not only in Middle-earth but also in the primary world. In the text, Elrond calls him Iarwain Ben-Adar, the oldest and fatherless. During the Council of Elrond in Rivendell, the idea of entrusting the One Ring to Tom is even considered. But the proposal is quickly discarded. Bombadil assigns no importance to the ring. He could even lose it. Perhaps at first he could resist Sauron, but in the end he would be overwhelmed. This rules out the possibility of him being Eru Iluvatar. Sauron could never prevail over the Creator. As Glorfindel observes at the council, Bombadil would fall last, as the first did. Then night would descend. The question, who is Tom Bombadil, is even asked by the hobbits, and the answers they receive are never straightforward. When Frodo asks Goldberry who Tom is, she replies, "He is. Not who he is, but how he is. He is the master of the forest, of the water, and of the hill. He does not possess things, he guards them. He is Lord because he exercises stewardship, not dominion." When Frodo asks Tom directly, "Who are you, Master?" the response is even more disorienting. What? Not who, but what? And then, "Tell me, who are you, alone, yourself and nameless?" Tolkien himself, in Letter 153, identifies this as a key phrase linked to the mystery of names. It has been suggested that here Bombadil breaks the fourth wall and addresses the reader indirectly, alone and nameless. Tom is the eldest, Frodo is young. Reflections on names, pronouns, and identity emerge. When alone, one does not need proper names. In dialogue, I and you suffice. But in a world populated by many, a name becomes necessary. The what thus becomes crucial. Being master or the eldest does not define essence. The ring, incidentally, erases names and identity, as happens to the Nazgul, reduced to nameless shadows. For Tolkien, a name expresses essence and accompanies character. His characters often have multiple names, each tied to qualities, history, or destiny. A name can foreshadow the story of a life. It is sometimes more important than geographic origin. Names hold treasure, memory, as with Treebeard, another guardian of the memory of names. Yet, important as they are, names never fully exhaust the mystery of who. In Letter 153, Tolkien writes that in a unique relationship with the Creator, pronouns can become proper names. But once there are more than two, the pronoun is no longer sufficient. Frodo asks, "Who is Tom Bombadil?" Not "What is he?" And, Tolkien often notes, we negligently confuse the two questions. Goldberry gives, according to Tolkien, the correct answer. He is, as you have seen him. There is no need to reach the sublime, I am that I am. Bombadil has no fear, no desire for possession or dominion. And here the central theme returns, the desire to dominate, embodied by the One Ring, the machine that compels deconstruction and control, perverting even art. Tom was not conceived as an allegory. Otherwise, Tolkien says, he would not have given him such a unique, even ridiculous name. Yet, Tolkien adds, allegory is sometimes the only way to show certain things. Bombadil is a particular incarnation of the natural spirit. He desires to know things as they are, independent of the mind observing them. He does not wish to dominate or use them. Zoology and botany, not cattle breeding or agriculture. Even the elves do not adopt this attitude. They are artists, and even art can degenerate into a machine, as with the rings of power. Tom goes beyond the elves. He is nature belonging only to itself. Tolkien defines Bombadil as the only true allegory in the novel, the embodiment of the natural spirit that seeks knowledge without desire for dominion. He is a model, whose allegorical value coincides with his very nature, a nature even the author himself could not define precisely. In this sense, Tom can be seen as a spirit of the land, a genius loci, as suggested by Tom Shippey. His voice is deep and joyful. He moves through grass and reeds like a cow heading to the watering hole. He speaks of bees, flowers, trees, strange creatures, things good and bad, cruel and merciful, secrets hidden under the brambles. His love for the world is disinterested. He does not use knowledge to gain power. He does not cultivate the old forest to make it submissive. In this, he differs from the elves, who intervene in nature to create and preserve their realms. He shares something with the Ents of Treebeard. He does not wish to alter the environment. We see this with Old Man Willow. He soothes it with one of his songs, but allows it to live, recognizing its dark heart. His role expands in relation to Goldberry. If Tom is the spirit of the earth, she, a river nymph, is the spirit of water. Her description intertwines with natural imagery, forget-me-nots, reeds, dewdrops, streams, and waterfalls. They are not timeless. They are rooted in the cycles of nature. In Letter 210, Tolkien writes that Goldberry represents the real changing of the seasons in those lands. At the Council of Elrond, the elf Galder states that the power to challenge the enemy is not in Bombadil, unless it lies in the land itself. His power equates to the natural potency of the earth. Bombadil is almost the opposite of Gandalf, who says of him, "He gathers moss, and I have been a stone doomed to rolling." Gandalf is an incarnate Maya, one of the Ainur sent into the world by the Vala with a specific mission. Perhaps Bombadil is not even a Maya, or perhaps it is more accurate to say that Gandalf is the physical incarnation of something spiritual, while Tom Bombadil is the spiritual incarnation of something physical. Returning to Letter 144, we can read, "If one relinquishes control and appreciates things as they are, without referring them to oneself, observing them, and, in a certain way, knowing them." The question arises, whether power and control are right or wrong loses all meaning. Tom Bombadil embodies an entirely pacifist conception, one that naturally comes to mind during times of war. From Rivendell's perspective, this is a noble stance, yet there are situations he cannot address, circumstances upon which his very existence depends. Ultimately, only the victory of the West would allow Bombadil to continue, or even merely survive. In Sauron's world, nothing would remain for him. What does all this Tolkien discussion mean? It shows that the Council of Elrond, when deliberating about the fate of the ring, considered giving it to Tom Bombadil. Yet, they ultimately decided against it, recognizing that it would serve no purpose. Bombadil is a character outside the usual stakes. He assigns no importance to the ring, and therefore would easily lose it. More importantly, Bombadil represents the path of absolute pacifism, which in this context is useless. The battle must be fought by those with something to lose, not by him. Thus, action must rely on others, for in a world governed by Sauron, Bombadil's approach could not exist. The Elvish path, the one expressed by the Council of Elrond and followed by Gandalf, is not absolute pacifism, nor utopian as Bombadil's is. It is a pragmatic vision that seeks to combat historical evil in this era to solve problems for future generations, all while acknowledging that evil will return in other forms. Bombadil's utopia cannot function within the story because in history, the problem of power coincides with the problem of evil. This remains true even in his own domain, where Bombadil wields immense control over the natural world. This manifests through his songs, one of the elements that illuminate the concept of magic in Tolkien's Legendarium. This is not stage magic, with wands or spectacular spells, but a magic tied to words, performative utterances, speech that becomes action. Bombadil walks through the forest, commanding nature, governing the trees, using whimsical songs that are also poetic compositions. He is a kind of poet shaman, reminiscent of figures from Finnish folklore, knowing the exact formula at the precise moment. much like Gandalf recites elvish poetry to invoke power when necessary. A crucial point: the ring has no effect on Tom Bombadil. He plays with it, puts it on his finger, yet does not disappear. He can even see who wears it, as in the case of Frodo in his house. This is remarkable, for every other character in The Lord of the Rings succumbs, even partially, to the ring's temptation, including Gandalf, Elrond, and Galadriel. Bombadil is untouched. Within Tolkien's narrative, Bombadil represents a possible conception of power. Power is inherently dangerous, but here is a model of self-limited authority. This is the only power deemed acceptable in Tolkien's work, that which is carried responsibly, endured painfully without misuse, like Aragorn, who at the end of the saga becomes king and immediately issues a decree restricting access to the Shire, including himself. Bombadil follows a similar principle. He governs his land, self-limited, perhaps reflecting an ancient, natural power older than Sauron's. He defines himself as the eldest, expressing this power through his bond with the land and his beloved Goldberry, the river daughter, to whom he dedicates every song and thought. Bombadil's power may not extend beyond his land. When he escorts the hobbits to the Barrow Downs, he stops at the edge, marking the limit of his power. Yet within that land, his power is absolute. The Nazgul do not appear there, unlike before the hobbits entered the Old Forest and later at Brea. This emphasizes a unique ability Frodo does not possess: the power to resist the ring and the call of evil from Mordor. The ring's power manifests as hatred. Frodo experiences this, but the ring demands obedience and servitude. Bombadil remains untouched, free, a being without burdens, as Goldberry notes. Every tree, herb, and living thing belongs only to itself. This self-limiting power seems Tolkien's only viable model. Another overlooked aspect of Bombadil is his connection to the dream world. Verlin Flieger, in A Question of Time, proposes Bombadil as the Lord of Dreams. His home intertwines reality and dream, much like the elvish realm of Lothlorien. The hobbits' time in the Old Forest is characterized by this blending. They lose their sense of space and time, as if in waking dreams. In Bombadil's house, Frodo experiences some of the most significant dreams of his life, one foretelling Gandalf's rescue from Isengard, another prefiguring Frodo's ultimate destiny beyond the sea, in the Undying Lands, finding peace. These dreams are not mere visions. They shape hope and reassurance amid his perilous journey from the Shire. Bombadil's influence is further evident in the Barrow Downs episode. He warns the hobbits against desecrating the tombs, yet despite his advice, they fall into the Barrow Wights' trap. Using his performative spells, Bombadil rescues them, blending reality and enchantment. His language embodies a unique correspondence: one thing per word, one word per thing. Once the Barrow Wight is defeated, Bombadil honors the treasures and the memory of their original owners, giving a token to Goldberry and preserving the legacy of the past, including the magical Westerness blades crafted by the Dúnedain of Arnor to combat Angmar and the Witch King. These blades later prove crucial when Merry strikes the Witch King at Pelennor Fields. Through Bombadil, Tolkien connects the hobbits to Middle-earth's ancient history, embedding them in a continuum far greater than their simple Shire existence. Bombadil opens their eyes to a larger story, linking the present to the depth of time, and the hobbit's journey becomes part of a vast, interwoven world. Join us next time on Compelling Topics as we continue exploring the wonders and secrets of Middle-earth, one character, one story, one insight at a time, with Paolo Nardi.